Hello everybody, I'm literally on my way out right now to get my hair cut, but hi, I just wanted to pop in to start off this vlog. I'm going to be reading 5 graphic novels, non-fiction graphic novel. 5 non-fiction graphic novels, right? That still makes it non-fiction. They are also due in like 2 days, so I'm going to be taking my first one, which is Genderqueer with Me. Let's get started. This is a memoir about Maia on the path to identifying as non-binary and asexual and coming out to their family and society. This is the one I'm going to be taking with me. We can talk about the other books when I'm not rushing out the door. Hi, welcome back to my channel. So I did finish Genderqueer yesterday, and like I said, this is a memoir about the author of trying to figure out their sexuality and discovering all of these new things, like new terminology that they didn't know about, going from thinking that they're gay to bi, and realizing there are things like being asexual and are they trans, and learning about new pronouns, which I have never seen, the Spivak pronouns, which is E-M-er. It was very informative. I actually decided to put a book on hold from this. It is I think it could be used as a textbook also. It's called Touching a Nerve by Patricia Churchland, The Self as Brain, and it explores the physical structures of the brain, and it's answering where in the physical structures of the brain are mortality, empathy, and aggression, free will, and identity based. It said that listening to Churchland is an engaging university lecture, which I really like because I've said that about Ta-Nehisi Coates, which is why I really like consuming his books by audiobook because he narrates them himself. And so it included passages of it, and it was really interesting learning about the actual science behind why trans people, it isn't just something that they fake or come up with. It's actually like a scientific factor of why they are the way that they are and how natural it is, which I think is really amazing. So I'm excited for that book to come. And it was really interesting learning about Spivak pronouns as well and how they're used because I haven't been exposed to it before. So this is definitely a great book in explaining and exploring, and also for young people who are also trying to figure their own identity out as well. So I truly enjoyed this. I actually went ahead and looked up this author a little bit more because I'd never heard of them before, heard of them before. I'm still figuring out pronouns. I found a remake that E had made of The Runaway Bunny called The Nonbinary Bunny, and read it. It was like 13 pages about a baby bunny explaining to E's mother what non-binary is and the mother's acceptance of that, and saying like, I will learn, I'm not really sure what you're talking about, but I will learn as I go, and you're still my child and I still love you. So I really liked this one. Anyway, like I said, also I have 4 other non-fiction graphic books on here. I'm not sure which one I'm going to take with me because I'm going to see a movie today. The next one that I have is Messy Roots, a graphic memoir of a Wuhanese American. I also have Onward Towards Our Noble Deaths by Shigeru Mizuki. I've read a lot of his other graphic books as well. Oh, it says this one's fiction. I will have to double check if this is actually non-fiction. I know it's like historical though, so I will check about this. I also have Honor Girl, another graphic memoir by Maggie, Thrash. This is also about someone figuring out their identity at summer camp, and I like that the setting was kind of taking place in summer camp as well. And the last one that I have is called Palestine by Joe Sacco. It's taking place in the early 1990s during the first uprising against the Israeli occupation. Holy poop, I went to go see We Live in Time with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, and I cried so much. I brought a handkerchief with me because I knew I would just sob, and I left with my eyes and so puffy and my nose so red. My handkerchief was fucking damp. I had to clean myself up in the bathroom after, and I really loved it. Like, I knew it would be an absolute sob fest. My sister had the opportunity to go see, I think, an early screening which had a Q&A with Andrew Garfield at least. It was just so beautiful, and I loved it. I also like sobbed the entirety of Little Women, and that's when I first fell in love with Florence Pugh. Oh my gosh, I love everything about her. Anyway, the book that I brought with me for that was Messy Roots, graphic memoir of a Wuhanese American by Laura Gao. Laura is a Wuhanese American. She was born in Wuhan and immigrated here when she was younger. She moved to Texas, a very white town, and she kind of just had to figure out her way of being this completely foreign person and trying to fit in her coming of age and navigating life in America, especially when Wuhan wasn't really a place that everyone knew of until COVID. She was like talked about being targeted, about finding her Chinese American self, and really trying hard to identify as white and whitewash herself in order to fit in. I really like this. Really wild that I have read from every single author on this back, all except for one at the top, and they have all blurbed this, including one of my favorites, R.F. Kuang, which I thought was really, really wild. I think it was really great and truly just depicts the Asian American experience only in a way that Laura would know specifically, obviously, but I could see similarities of it for myself and how she would clash with her parents about the dreams that they had for her. I'm sure a lot of people could relate to that, and then really strangely for her also going back to Wuhan and realizing that she does not really speak Chinese very well. She can't really understand or communicate as well anymore because she has tried so hard to Americanize herself and assimilate, but it really like caused her to lose that part of herself as well. Now, I do still have 3 books left, and like I said, these books are all due tomorrow, so I'm going to see if I can renew some of them and then get started on one before I go to bed. Also, I don't think I can carry any of these in a purse for tomorrow because I'm going to see a Broadway show tomorrow. We're going to see 6 as a family. Good morning. I'm headed out to the gym right now, but I did also start Honor Girl by Maggie Thrash. When I added it as like currently reading on Goodreads, I noticed that I had actually added this to my TBR in 2019 and just completely forgotten about it. I'm not sure what it was that stood out to me, but I'm about 50% of the way through. I'm about to start chapter 8. There has been some kissing. Maggie goes to an all-girls camp in the Appalachian Mountains or something like that. For the first time is realizing that maybe she has an attraction to girls, but is scared of feeling ostracized there because apparently in the camp's history there has been a rumor of 2 girls that got together and they never ever came back to camp because of the bullying that ensued afterwards. Someone there at the camp is there to help her kind of navigate these emotions and this experience because she's never really considered the fact that she could be gay or bi. I'm not really liking the art style of this so far. It seems like amateur anime fan a little bit, and the camp sounds so boring, but nonetheless it's very like camp in the South. She seems to really like it there, and I'm glad that she has like someone to explore it with. The only thing is that I think she's like 14 or 15 and the counselor that she has a crush on is I think 19, so a little bit weird. I am doing a bit of reading before I head out for work, but I started reading Palestine yesterday. Someone on the train, like a young high schooler, asked me what I was reading and they took a photo of it. I didn't realize that this is actually a reprint. It was originally published, I think, in like 2001 or something like that. Wow, it's kind of a lot. The author, Joe Sacco, is a journalist, and so that was what he was doing in Israel and Palestine originally, to just listen to people's stories, real accounts of what's going on. Right now he's spending more time obviously in Palestine. They are talking about the settlers. He's talking to a lot of people who were imprisoned. It is really awful. I am on the side of the Palestinians, but I feel like even if you weren't, you could really read this and read the real accounts of Palestinians and say, oh no, that's actually really unfair, the treatment that they're getting in literally their own country. The settlers are Jewish, so a lot of the sentencings for them are very lenient. They will get 3 years for murder. 3 fucking years. Meanwhile, if the Palestinians do one wrong thing or nothing at all, the judge will grant the police, like the people people investigating. 15 extra days. This one man was just imprisoned with a fucking hood over his head, his arms tied behind his back for days, and he was only allowed to sleep like 5 hours every couple of days. The treatment is really, really awful, and it's obviously very skewed against the Palestinians. There's like nothing they can do. Even if they are completely law-abiding, you could still just be imprisoned and go away and never be heard from again. So this is a lot. It is also because this journalist is jumping around. He's kind of just listening to whoever will talk to him. I feel like he's kind of going around the cities without very much of a plan, that it can seem like this book is jumping around a lot and that there's so much information to take in without kind of a storyline. There are chapters separating, like, and they can be very short, but it really packs on a lot on each page. I just read like 3-4 pages about women's movement in Palestine and how they're trying to change things and give women more control over their own lives. But a lot of women, even obviously men, but like women also are refusing to change. The next chapter is going to be hijab, but the chapters are really short, which is why also, because even if there's so much information on the page, there's also just so much that this book is covering. It's a little bit overwhelming. I finished reading Palestine. It definitely is a really hard read, showing a lot of the inhumane acts, a lot of the hardships that the Palestinians are going through, and how there's really nothing that they can do to make their situation any better. The Israeli government and military are doing everything they can to wipe out the Palestinians, and it's only getting worse and worse. It's nonfiction, so I'm not going to rate this, but it did seem like towards the end the author was getting really burnt out. Like, you could tell how tired he was listening to so many horror stories of just everyone's tragedies, and he kind of just like brushed them off towards the end, just because he kept wanting to go on to the next thing and to the next thing that I didn't really like. And it does end pretty abruptly of when he's leaving Israel or Palestine into Israel to Egypt. When he's waiting to get on that bus, he is talking to these 2 Israeli women and trying to get their views, and they're talking to him like, well, why haven't you come into Israel and talked to people about like Israel, like the Israeli view? And he says, well, growing up in the West, that's all I heard. I grew up thinking that Israel was completely in the right and not hearing any Palestinian stories because the media like doesn't follow that at all. Meanwhile, the Palestinians that he's interviewing are saying, what good is coming of us talking to you? I've talked to so many journalists and nothing is going on. Our stories are being heard and they're going in one ear and out the other. So they're not really seeing any hope, and it's really hard to see any hope at all for them. But I think this was a really good, important read to see the views of the Palestinians. I'm gonna go ahead and start reading Onwards Towards Our Noble Deaths. I finished reading Onwards Towards Our Noble Deaths by Shigeru Mizuki, and this is 90% accurate, I think, or autobiographical at least, is what the author said in a Q&A at the end of the book. Oh, it's 90% fact. This is basically a fictionalized memoir of the author Shigeru Mizuki's time in the Imperial Army during World War II, where he's set on the tropical island of the South Pacific, and it's really going into the details of the common soldier and what they have to do, what they're being told to do, just basically having to do everything and taking all the shit. There's not a lot of words or like too much battle until the end. They're kind of just gearing up. There's a lot of like terrible illnesses that are going on in the tropical islands, and there's talks of suicide charges that the Japanese army was known for. You can really tell Shigeru Mizuki's views of war in this and how it seems really pointless at times, especially some of the battles, especially telling your whole battalion to off themselves on this one charge that may do nothing at all, and the commanders have control over that even though that's not something that they should be doing. It's kind of just a waste of human life at that point of them being in this army. It's not nonfiction, but I did want to read this. At the time I thought this was nonfiction, but I have read Shigeru Mizuki's other works in war. He's known for Gekige no Kitaro manga and later TV show, like anime, that my parents used to grow up watching and reading. But the art style is really simplistic and there's no really like one character that you can kind of connect to. I think I've preferred his other works before, but now I'm done and I have finished reading everything for this video. I really enjoy reading graphic memoirs. I feel like that's kind of the #1 way that I prefer reading memoirs. So if you have any that you like, please let me know. And I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in my next video. If you read any of these, let me know as well about your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Bye!